Welcome. If you are considering Positron, which is a code editor for both Python and R, well, it is not a good idea to call it just a code editor. It is full-fledged IDE, integrated development environment. And the thing is why you should be considering positron, right? So in the past I have seen there has been a lot of discussion. Okay, if you are a data scientist you should be using either R or Python, and then there is a discussion and everybody talks about, okay, Python is better. Some people say, oh no, R is better, right? And but eventually what I see, what I experienced was that, okay, if you start with R, then later on you have to switch to Python. There are certain things at which Python is better, and sometime if you start with Python, eventually you want to experiment with R, right? So this way, I mean, there were then choices, okay, which IDE you should be using, okay, PyCharm, all those, and VS Code, all those, RStudio. But now this positron has best of all the worlds. It has capability to run both Python and R in the same IDE. So that is the most amazing thing. That is why it is called IDE for the next generation. That is why it is called IDE for data science people who are working either in Python or in R. So now they will have best of both the worlds here in one platform. Before switching to Positron, you will have to install Python first of all on the computer system where you want to install Positron, and this is that link. The usual way you go and install the latest version. And if you want to use Positron for R as well, then it is a good idea to first install the relevant version of R, the latest version of R from the exact mirror CRAN mirrors which applies to you, right? And the good thing is that even if you want to run more than two versions of Python, you have already installed the latest version of Python, but for some reason you want to install a previous version, maybe 3.8.10, then you can have more than one versions of Python or R, and it can support, Positron can support it. So once you have installed whatever your language requirements are and the versions of that for Python and R, then you go and install the positron from this URL. All these URLs I will provide in the description. So here you see it. When I click on this drop down list, I see all the versions of Python and R that have already been installed. If it is off, I can start the interpreter, right? This one, for example, right? So this way there are facilities. But since I have already installed, so you see these green buttons here, that yes, they are installed on my system, the system on which I have installed Positron. Suppose I want another version, as I was saying, 3.8.10, then I can install it. And how it would change the availability here, let us see. So I go to the correct link for installing Python 3.8.10, and then I will scroll down and see where the correct download version is available. Bit window installer 64-bit applies to me, and then I will download it. And install it. Before installing, I will add the Python 3.8 to the path and then install it. It would take a couple of minutes for sure. So I get this message, setup was successful, and I will close it. And then actually I restarted Positron, and then I click on here where it says start interpreter. So this way we see that if we install more than one versions of either R or Python, then we get these three dots, and when we click these three dots, we will see that these are the available versions of Python which we have already installed, and we can work in any of them. And for that we have to create an environment in there. We have to activate the environment. We have to install IPY kernel for that environment, and we have to make sure all these libraries that we are using in that app.py file, they are installed. Then we will be able to work in that version of Python. We will do that in upcoming learnings. See you then.